Hey, fellow witches and wizards. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling one of the most misunderstood characters in the entire Harry Potter series. She's been dismissed as vain, shallow, and just another pretty face. But the truth, she's one of the toughest, bravest witches in the wizarding world. That's right, we're talking about Fleur Delacour. So grab your wands, because we're about to prove that this Boxbaton's champion is so much more than her Vela heritage. Let's dive in. Let's start at the beginning. October 1994. The Boxbaton's carriage arrives at Hogwarts, and out steps Fleur Delacour. Now, what's everyone's first reaction? They're literally stunned. Harry describes the effect she has on people, and it's not subtle. Ron starts acting like a complete fool around her, and even Harry admits she's quite beautiful. But here's where we need to pause and think critically. Yes, Fleur is part Vela, which means she has that magical allure, but let's not forget what happens next. She puts her name in the Goblet of Fire. She doesn't rely on her looks or charm to get by. She volunteers for one of the most dangerous magical competitions in history. When that goblet spits out her name, Fleur becomes the only female champion in the Triwizard Tournament. Think about that for a second. She's competing against Victor Crumb, an international Quidditch star and Durmstrang's finest. She's up against Cedric Diggory, Hogwarts' golden boy and a skilled wizard. And then there's Harry Potter himself. Fleur doesn't back down. She doesn't hesitate. She steps up to the challenge. November 24, 1994. The first task, each champion has to get past a dragon, an actual, fire-breathing dragon, to retrieve a golden egg. These aren't cute little creatures. These are some of the most dangerous beasts in the magical world. Fleur draws the common Welsh green, and you know what she does? She uses a charm to put it into a sleep-like state. Now, the dragon snores and sets her skirt on fire, so she has to put out the flames. But she successfully retrieves her egg. She completes the task. Yes, she doesn't get full marks because of the skirt incident. But let's be real here. She faced down a dragon and lived to tell the tale. Let's compare. Cedric transfigures a rock into a dog to distract his dragon. Victor uses a conjunctivitis curse to blind his dragon, though it crushes some of the real eggs. Harry uses his firebolt to outfly the horntail. Each champion has their own strategy, but Fleur's approach shows sophistication and skill. She didn't just muscle through it. She used advanced charm work under incredible pressure. February 24, 1995, the second task takes our champions into the freezing depths of the Black Lake. They have exactly 1 hour to rescue someone precious to them from the merpeople. For Fleur, that person is her younger sister, Gabrielle. Here's what we know from canon. Fleur uses Bubblehead charm to breathe underwater. Smart, effective magic. But then she runs into Grindylows. These water demons attack her, and she's forced to fight them off. Unfortunately, during the struggle, she can't reach Gabrielle in time. Now, here's where people criticize her, saying she failed this task. But let's think about what actually happened. Fleur is attacked by multiple dangerous creatures in freezing water, in an environment where she can't use magic as effectively as on land. She fights them off. She survives, but she can't complete the objective. And when she surfaces and realizes Gabrielle is still down there, she's absolutely distraught. When Harry brings Gabrielle back safely, Fleur's reaction tells us everything. She kisses Harry on the cheeks, thanks him profusely, and we see genuine emotion. This isn't some shallow girl worried about losing points. This is a sister who was terrified for her sibling's life. She even says to Harry, "You saved her, even though she was not your hostage." She shows immense gratitude and relief. June 24, 1995. The third task. The champions enter a massive maze filled with obstacles, dangerous creatures, and enchantments. The goal? Reach the Triwizard Cup in the center. Fleur enters that maze knowing anything could happen, and unfortunately, something does. According to Harry, he finds Fleur unconscious in the maze, and he sends up red sparks to get her rescued. We later learn she was attacked. Now, we don't get all the details, but think about what this means. Fleur made it deep enough into that maze, past numerous obstacles, to be in a position where someone felt threatened enough to attack her. That maze contained blast-ended scroots, a sphinx, boggarts, and an acromantula, any of which could have taken her out earlier. But she pushed forward. Yes, she didn't reach the cup, but she proved her mettle throughout the entire tournament. She competed with honor and skill against 3 other exceptional wizards. So the tournament ends. Cedric tragically dies, and Voldemort returns. Dark times are ahead, but Fleur, she doesn't retreat back to France and forget about everything. Instead, she does something that shows her true character. She comes back to England. In 1996, Fleur takes a part-time job at Gringotts Wizarding Bank to improve her English. Now, think about the timing here. Voldemort has just returned, the wizarding world is on the brink of war. France is safer. Boxbatons is safer. But Fleur chooses to stay in England, the epicenter of the coming conflict. And this is where she meets Bill Weasley. Bill, the eldest Weasley brother, the curse breaker, the cool one with the long hair and dragonhide boots. They fall in love, and they get engaged. But of course, not everyone is thrilled about this. Let's address the elephant in the room. Molly and Ginny Weasley do not like Fleur at first, and honestly, the text makes it pretty clear that some of this is rooted in prejudice, and maybe even a bit of jealousy. Ginny calls her phlegm. Molly criticizes everything from her cooking to her cleaning. They mock her accent. Hermione is more neutral, but even she gets caught up in it sometimes. And look, we love the Weasley family, but they're not perfect. And this is one of those moments where they're being unfair. Think about it. Fleur is in a foreign country, trying to fit in with her fiancé's family, dealing with a different culture and language. And instead of getting support, she gets constant criticism. She's trying to help with wedding preparations, and everything she does is judged. But does she give up? Does she run away? No, she keeps showing up. She keeps trying. That takes serious strength and determination. And now we come to the moment that changes everything. The moment that proves, beyond any doubt, who Fleur Delacour really is. It's late June 1997, and the Death Eaters attack Hogwarts. Bill is fighting alongside the Order of the Phoenix when he's brutally attacked by Fenrir Greyback. Greyback, one of the most vicious werewolves in existence. He's not even fully transformed when he attacks Bill, but he still mauls him terribly. Bill's face is torn apart. The scars are deep, permanent. Madame Pomfrey says he'll never look the same again. Everyone's in shock. Mrs. Weasley is devastated. And then, when she sees Fleur, she basically assumes the worst. She thinks Fleur won't want to marry Bill anymore, because of his scars. The family's probably thinking, well, that's it. The pretty French girl is going to run away now. But Fleur is absolutely furious at the suggestion, and here's what she says. And this is a direct quote from Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. You thought I would not wish to marry him. Or perhaps you hoped. What do I care how he looks? I am good-looking enough for both of us, I think. All these scars show is that my husband is brave. Let that sink in. Fleur doesn't hesitate for even a second. She's not shallow. She's not vain in the way everyone assumed. She loves Bill for who he is, his bravery, his character, his heart. And that line, I am good-looking enough for both of us. It's not vanity, it's defiance. It's her throwing their prejudice right back at them and declaring that their love is deeper than appearances. And you know what happens next. Mrs. Weasley breaks down crying and finally accepts Fleur. She hugs her, apologizes, and from that moment on, Fleur is truly part of the family. Ginny stops calling her Flem. The tension dissolves, because they finally see what we, as readers, should have seen all along. Fleur is the real deal. August 1st, 1997. Bill and Fleur get married at the Burrow, and it's described as absolutely beautiful. Fleur's Vila heritage makes everything seem more magical. The tent, the decorations, even the garden looks transformed. It's a moment of happiness in increasingly dark times, but that happiness is short-lived. The Death Eaters attack the wedding reception after news breaks that the Ministry has fallen. The wizarding world is now under Voldemort's control. It's chaos, it's terrifying, and it's just the beginning. Bill and Fleur move to Shell Cottage, their new home on the outskirts of Tinworth, on the Cornish coast. It's remote, it's isolated, and it becomes a safe house for the Order of the Phoenix. And this is crucial. Fleur and Bill actively choose to help the resistance. They're newlyweds. They could have tried to stay out of it, to protect themselves, but they don't. In the spring of 1998, Shell Cottage becomes a refuge for multiple fugitives. First, Luna Lovegood and Mr. Ollivander are rescued from Malfoy Manor and brought to Bill and Fleur's home. They're traumatized, weak, and need serious care. Fleur doesn't complain. She takes care of them. She provides healing, comfort, and safety. Then, when Harry, Ron, Hermione, Dean Thomas, and Griphook arrive after their own escape from Malfoy Manor, along with Dobby, who dies tragically, Shell Cottage becomes even more crowded. Think about what this means for Fleur and Bill. They're harboring known fugitives, enemies of the state, according to Voldemort's regime. If they're discovered, they'll be tortured, killed, or worse. Their home could be attacked at any moment. But they never waver. They provide shelter, food, and support without hesitation. Fleur helps tend to everyone's wounds. She's kind to Griphook despite the tensions. She treats everyone with respect and dignity. This is what real bravery looks like, not just fighting in battles, but protecting others when it puts you in direct danger. But we need to back up a bit, because before all of this, Fleur already proved herself in combat. July 27, 1997. The Order of the Phoenix needs to move Harry from Privet Drive to the Burrow. But they know Voldemort's followers will be watching, so they come up with the 7 Potters plan. 6 people take Polyjuice Potion to transform into Harry Potter decoys: Ron, Hermione, Fred, George, Fleur, and Mundungus Fletcher. Each fake Harry is paired with a protector, and they all fly different routes to confuse the Death Eaters. Fleur is paired with Bill, and what happens? They're ambushed. Death Eaters and Voldemort himself attack the group. It's absolute chaos. Curses flying everywhere. People fighting for their lives in midair. This is one of the most dangerous battles in the series. And Fleur is right in the middle of it. Now, we don't get a detailed playby of Fleur's specific actions during this battle, but we know she survives. She and Bill make it to their destination safely, which means she held her own against Death Eaters while flying on a Thestral. Meanwhile, Hedwig dies, George loses his ear, Mad-Eye Moody is killed, and Mundungus disapparates in panic. Fleur doesn't panic, she fights. And now we reach the culmination of everything. May 2nd, 1998, the Battle of Hogwarts. Voldemort and his army of Death Eaters, giants, acromantulas, and dementors attack the school. It's the final stand. the last chance to stop him. And guess who's there, wand in hand, ready to fight? That's right, Fleur Delacour. She's not a Hogwarts student. She's not even British. She could have stayed in France, where it's safer. She could have stayed at Shell Cottage with Bill. But instead, she chooses to fight. She stands with the defenders of Hogwarts against overwhelming evil. We don't get specific details of every duel Fleur fights that night, but we know she's there. She's fighting Death Eaters. She's defending the castle alongside witches and wizards from all over Britain. She's risking her life for a school she never attended, for a country that isn't her own, because it's the right thing to do. Think about the courage that takes. Fleur knows the stakes. She knows that if they lose, she'll likely be killed. She's recently married. She has every reason to want to survive, to think about her future, but she fights anyway. That's not just bravery, that's heroism. So Voldemort is defeated. The good guys win. The wizarding world begins to heal and rebuild. And Fleur, she gets to live the life she fought for. She and Bill have 3 children, Victoire, Dominique, and Louis. We see in the epilogue that Victoire is at King's Cross in 2017, apparently kissing Teddy Lupin, yes, Remus and Tonks's son. The Weasley Delacour family is thriving, integrated into the larger magical community. Fleur gets her happy ending, and she earned every bit of it. But more than that, Fleur's story becomes part of the larger narrative about prejudice and assumptions. In the wizarding world, she was judged unfairly from the moment she arrived at Hogwarts. People saw her Vela heritage, her beauty, her accent, and they made assumptions. They decided she was shallow, vain, and not worth taking seriously. So why does Fleur's story matter so much? Why is it important to defend her character? Because her arc teaches us something crucial about judging people based on appearance and stereotypes. Throughout the series, we see themes of prejudice, pureblood versus muggleborn, wizards versus house elves, humans versus werewolves and half-giants. Fleur's story is another example of this. She faces prejudice for being part filler, for being beautiful, for being foreign. People assume she's superficial because of how she looks, but J.K. Rowling shows us, repeatedly, that Fleur defies those expectations. She's brave, she volunteers for the Triwizard Tournament and fights in 2 major battles. She's loyal, she stays with Bill after he's scarred and stands by her principles. She's compassionate, she takes care of fugitives at great personal risk. She's strong, she endures criticism and prejudice without giving up. The movies don't do her justice. Honestly, they reduce her to a pretty face with a few scenes. But in the books, Fleur is a fully realized character with depth, courage, and integrity. She's not perfect, no character is, but she's so much more than what people give her credit for. Let's put this in perspective. How does Fleur compare to other beloved characters in terms of bravery and achievement? She competed in the Triwizard Tournament, something even Hermione, with all her brilliance, didn't attempt. She fought in the Battle of the 7 Potters, a battle that cost Mad-Eye Moody his life and George Weasley his ear. She harbored fugitives during the height of Voldemort's power, an act of resistance that could have gotten her killed. And she fought in the Battle of Hogwarts, the final. Desperate stand against darkness. That's a war record that rivals most Order of the Phoenix members. She's in the same league as Tonks, Kingsley Shacklebolt, and even Remus Lupin in terms of her contributions to the fight against Voldemort. Yet somehow, she doesn't get the same recognition or respect from the fandom. Maybe it's because she's feminine. Maybe it's because she cares about her appearance and isn't afraid to be confident. Maybe it's because she's not British. But whatever the reason, it's time we recognize Fleur Delacour for the warrior she truly is. Now, let's tackle some of the common criticisms people have about Fleur, because I know they're out there. First, she's vain and shallow. Is she confident? Yes. Does she know she's beautiful? Absolutely. But vanity implies excessive pride and self-absorption. Fleur never puts others down for their looks. She never uses her appearance to manipulate people maliciously. Being aware of your attractiveness doesn't make you a bad person, and Fleur proves her depth through her actions repeatedly. Second, she failed the second task. She was attacked by Grindylows and couldn't reach her sister. That's not failure. That's being overpowered by dangerous creatures in a hostile environment. She survived, which is more than many witches or wizards could have done, and her emotional reaction shows how much she cared, which is the opposite of shallow. Third, she's rude and dismissive of others. Where Fleur is described as gracious when Harry saves Gabrielle, she's polite to her hosts, even when they're being unkind to her. She takes care of refugees at Shell Cottage without complaint. If anything, she's remarkably patient with people who treat her poorly. The truth is, a lot of the criticism of Fleur comes from within the story, from characters like Ginny and Molly, who are explicitly shown to be prejudiced against her initially. But we, as readers, are supposed to recognize that prejudice for what it is. We're supposed to see past it, just like Mrs. Weasley eventually does. We have to talk about how the movies failed Fleur. In the films, she's barely a character. She gets a handful of scenes in Goblet of Fire, and then she mostly disappears. We don't see her relationship with Bill develop. We don't see her defend their love in the hospital wing. We don't see her at Shell Cottage or her participation in the battles. Clemence Posey did a great job with what she was given, but the script just didn't give Fleur the depth she deserves. For people who only watch the movies, Fleur is just a minor character. A pretty French girl who shows up for the tournament and then marries Bill off-screen. They miss everything that makes her amazing. This is why it's so important to read the books. So many characters get reduced or simplified in the films, and Fleur is one of the biggest casualties. Her character arc, her growth, her heroism, it's all in the text, waiting to be appreciated. So, let's bring this all together. Fleur Delacour is a Triwizard champion. She's a battle-tested warrior who fought against Death Eaters and Voldemort's forces on multiple occasions. She's a woman who stood by her husband when others thought she'd abandon him. She's a protector who risked everything to shelter refugees during wartime. And she's a survivor who refused to let prejudice and judgment define her. She's not just pretty, she's brave, she's loyal, she's strong, she's compassionate, she's everything a hero should be, wrapped up in a package that people too often dismissed because of how she looked or where she came from. Fleur Delacour deserves to be remembered not as Bill's wife or that French girl, but as one of the unsung heroes of the Second Wizarding War. She earned her place in history, and it's time the fandom gives her the respect she deserves. So what do you think? Has this video changed your perspective on Fleur? What's your favorite Fleur moment from the books? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've always loved Fleur and felt she was underrated, welcome to the club. We've been waiting for you. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the wizarding world. Share this with someone who needs to understand why Fleur is actually amazing. Until next time, keep the magic alive, stay brave, and remember, never judge a witch by her appearance. See you soon.